Viewer, thanks to Canada's total refusal to apply laws against dangerous threats of violence by banned pro-Khalistan groups on its soil, groups of Khalistani extremists in the last 24 hours stormed and attacked 2 Hindu temples in Canada. The attacks happened in Brampton and Surrey, both considered bastions of Canada's most mollycoddled gangster drug traffickers who've been having a great year, making the headlines and being the subject of the total collapse of relations between India and Canada. But you already know about how Trudeau's Canada has consistently signaled to these thugs and terrorists that attacked the 2 temples today that they will be protected under freedom of expression laws and that they will remain darlings of the Canadian state. But today, we really saw that affection in real time, caught vividly on camera, and it doesn't happen very often. And I'm going to show you everything uncensored. The most viral image from today was this particular crackdown by the Canadian National Police. And I refuse to call them by their grandiose official name, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, as if to suggest that they have some glorious history, which, believe me, they do not. And I'm not being unkind about this. Feel free to look it up. Anyway, the image that you're looking at, and we'll have that image, the correct image on your screen in just a moment, is 3 Canadian policemen pinning down and incapacitating an unarmed Hindu teenager outside the temple that he was visiting. 3 big, beefy Canadian cops for 1 little guy. Well done, Canadian police. That's an excellent and efficient use of resources. 3 big, fat cops for 1 little teenager. Well done. You'd think this was a one-off, but no, there's more. We're only getting started, so bear with me. There were these George Floyd-type pinning downs by the brave Canadian cops at both temples that were attacked by pro-Khalistan gangsters. Looking at these images, you'd be forgiven for thinking that the temple devotees had suddenly decided to turn violent during worship and therefore got what was coming to them. Oh, the Canadian police must be running a special loyalty program for Khalistani gangsters these days, because if there's one thing they've perfected, it's the art of looking the other way. A group of Hindu devotees gathers peacefully at their temples, perhaps in prayer. What happens next? The Canadian police swoops in with full force, and this is not me saying it, you can see it on camera. And there they are, scrutinizing the real threat to public safety, the devotees themselves. Now these 2 videos, and there is more coming, prove that when it comes to pro-Khalistani thugs collecting to incite violence and bay for blood, the Canadian police opts cleanly for the ostrich approach. Head firmly in the sand, not a peep, and certainly no interference. Anti-India posters plastered outside Hindu temples. Oh, they must have been art installations. Banners openly calling for violence. Why, those are probably just expressions of free speech. And the actual physical intimidation of Hindu devotees that was caught on camera today, well, maybe it was just a misunderstanding, right? Let's go stomp on some Hindu necks. They're making all of us look really, really bad. Now imagine a response if the roles were reversed. Just imagine if the roles were reversed. If, say, Hindu devotees organized a counter-protest. The Canadian police, as you and I both know, viewer, would probably be at the scene faster than you can say mediocre maple syrup. Batons, riot shields, surveillance, because clearly a group of temple goers might be Canada's real threat to peace and harmonies, not these Khalistani terrorists. But my favorite part of today's crackdown by the Canadian police was how this one officer was seen trying to grab the Khalistani flag from the hands of a Hindu protester because he wanted to calm things down. This is amazing, viewer. I had tears in my eyes, and the incredible sense of duty in this shameless Canadian cop, willing to put himself into harm's way to protect the Khalistani flag. I almost said Canadian flag. When the same police has done absolutely nothing, take a look at the other image on my screen. When the Indian flag has been repeatedly torn, stomped on, set on fire, kicked about like a football, and worse, by these same shameless Khalistani thugs pretending to protest. In fact, one could imagine officers watching from a comfortable distance, murmuring freedom of expression, let them have their say. Perhaps they've even waiting to hand out popcorn to spectators, because obviously this is a totally respectful, peaceful protest and nothing more. The Indian flag being desecrated, you'd better not jump in. The Khalistani flag is being attacked. Boy, have you had it if you try anything with that flag. Now just imagine, viewer, once again, if a few Hindus, after yet another attack, after yet another provocation on their safety and place of worship, decided to return the favor by, say, stomping on a Khalistani flag like you just saw, in a moment of frustration, because they don't do that. What do you think happens? Sirens blare, lights flash, and before anyone knows it, the RCMP, oops, I meant the Canadian National Police, arrives to remind these criminals that public decency is at stake. You'd think that they were responding to an international incident. A SWAT team would probably be next on standby, descending from a helicopter, ready to de-escalate the threat of a group taking a stand against terrorist provocations against their places of worship. The irony is almost poetic. Desecrate an Indian flag? Well, that's free speech, practically a community event. But touch a Khalistani flag and suddenly it's an emergency, a potential hate crime, a situation that requires urgent intervention. Who knew that Canadian law enforcement had such a keen sense of selective empathy? You may think that I'm saying this, but you're looking at the pictures and probably not even listening to a word I'm saying. And I hope that's the truth, because the pictures convey much more about what I'm trying to say than I personally ever could. Maybe it's time for the new Canadian police to actually adopt a brand new motto: service, integrity, and blatant selective enforcement. It has a nice ring to it, right? And who knows, maybe the next time they're needed at a temple, they'll arrive with an extra force of special unit officers to keep an eye on those dangerous, mischievous temple goers, of course, while ensuring the provocators enjoy a peaceful, uninterrupted day of activism. This, Canadians, is what Trudeau has done to your once proud democracy.